So the next step down a progression is the hang position, right? And this is where things get a little tricky because the more real estate we have to cover, right, the more distance the bar travels, the more that can go wrong. So it's really important that we take our time and really focus on positions here, as well as getting back into that high hanging position for the extension, right? So what I'm gonna have Mike do is shift the hips back, slide the bar down his thigh. He brings his shoulders over the bar right here and stop. You'll see that the shoulders are just over the bar slightly. What we want to do is replicate what position he would be in if he was coming up off the ground, which is going to be a position where his knees are slightly back, right, as he's pushing through the floor. Now you'll notice here that his weight is kind of shifting back. If I were to just give him a little nudge, he's probably going to fall backwards on his ass, right? So what we want to do is we want to balance him out by shifting his whole center of gravity, right? We don't want to bend the knees more. We don't want to lean over the bar, which a lot of people do by mistake. We just want to shift his whole center of gravity. So once again, most of his weight is midfoot, right? You might feel a slight shift of weight back towards the heel a little bit just because the knees are coming back off the ground, but not so much that it completely leaves his toes where his toes are in the air. Because then again, right back to what I talked about with the feet, right? The less pressure you're pushing through the floor, the less force you're going to produce in your extension, right? So we want to keep those feet flat for a longer duration of time. You'll see here, the lats are engaged, elbows out, knuckles down. He's pushing into the bar, trying to pull the weights apart, right? Creating good tension. It's going to stay connected over the bar, right? At the back is nice and flat. Really make sure you have that big chest, flat back position. A lot of people let their shoulders roll forward because they get lazy, or maybe you're just not strong enough to hold that position, right? So this is a great exercise right here that we can all do while we're on quarantine with no weights. You just need a PVC pipe, you just need an empty bar, right? Or if you have some weights, you could put a little weight on it, but literally just holding. You'll see Mike's holding for a really long time. Eventually, you're gonna get really shaky, right? Add a little weight, see how long you can go, but this is a good position for just doing static holds, for really emphasizing staying engaged and holding this position. Because remember, if you're not able to hold the positions through your lift, it's going to affect your technique. All right, so now that we have our position dialed in for the hang, now we're gonna get into putting it together to get overhead, right? This is where it's really important to get the timing dialed in of bringing your hips through, staying over the bar just long enough, not too long, not leaning back too soon, all that stuff. So what we really want to do is just practice slow and controlled movements to really get a feel for how the body should move to get into the correct positions to execute a good extension, right? This is where I see a lot of things go wrong. If you stay over the bar too long, so go ahead and just lean over and boom. If he stays over the bar too long, by the time the bar gets into the hip, right, the hips are going to be behind the shoulders. There's nowhere to go except for forward with the hips at the last second. The bar is going out and around every time, right? In order to push through the floor and have the bar go up with the hips, go ahead and dip. He needs to get into this position here so that way he can drive, him and the bar drive up together, right? You want to get the hips under the shoulders in extension so that way you and the bar go up at the same time and you're not pushing the bar in an opposite direction and then either jumping forward or looping it around or all the different things that can go wrong from being out of position and off your timing. So go ahead and go down to the hang position, Mike, right? From here, go ahead and get your weight balance right. Now he's got, right, he's pushing his toes into the ground so that way he knows the weight is in the correct spot, which is maybe just a little bit behind midfoot, but still has weight throughout the entire foot. From here, he's gonna go ahead and open up, and let's just get back to that high hang position, right there. Look at the weight is balanced. There's enough bend in the knees that he can actually produce force vertically here, right? You'll see how he kind of scoops the bar in, right? So now let's go ahead, go back to the knee, but now let's get your position right. Now let's do a drive and a shrug and put it together, right? You see how he kind of scoops that bar and he's dragging up the leg. Just remember, the further the bar is from the body, the more ground you're gonna have to make up. Typically what that leads to is you coming to the bar, then again looping it out and around. So you might get your positions right, but because you're making up for that gap, you're gonna end up pushing the bar away anyways, and then that's where you get a lot of people that kind of get the bar and the elbows bend because it's right out in front versus getting it behind their head, right? So positioning timing is everything here. So go ahead and get into the hang position, right? Go ahead and stay over the bar a little bit longer this time, and then drive and shrug. Right, there you go. That was a nice pull in. He stayed over it long enough. He still had the time to get his hips under, drive the bar up. So now let's go ahead and do a hang snatch. There we go. Excellent execution, right? Good positions. Now let's go ahead and back down to the hang. So in order to get this right, we need to spend a lot of time just drilling it. So very slowly, get your balance right. Balance first before you do anything else, because we want to make sure we really remember that position so it's easier to get into every time. Come up slowly, staying over the bar. Oh, so see how I kind of lean back a little too soon, right? So stay over the bar, then scoop it in, and then up, right? Going slow like that is really, really impactful in making sure that your body remembers and learns these new positions, right? Remember, your brain cannot keep up with the speed in which your body moves. So if you slow the speed in which your body moves, your brain can now keep up with it and create these new motor pathways, right? So go ahead and do it again one more time, nice and slow. So that way you're starting to learn, stay over, and we're shifting and scooping and driving short. Excellent execution there. So remember, slower is better when you're trying to create new movement patterns or you're trying to learn them for the first time.